John Constantine took a boat to Ireland to visit his friend Brendan Finn. He called him recently thinking he could help him with the cancer, although of course he didn't tell him he needed that specifically, just a favor. And even though Brendan sounded tired on the phone, he was still glad to hear from his old friend. And it might be a coincidence, but he also needed help with something. Finally, he arrived at that old tower on the seashore, a pretty peaceful place where no one interrupted Brendan from his strange spells. John knocked on the door and was warmly welcomed. He was offered a drink and he accepted it. Both of them caught up on the past few years, talking about family and friends who had died since the last time they saw each other. And above all, Constantine could tell that his friend looked somewhat pale and worn out. Brendan thought they had already talked about enough misery for today, so he took his guest to the cellar, to the place where he kept his precious wine collection. He told John that this was like his religion. The old times had been good, but he was no longer young enough for adventures like before, so he decided to leave magic behind. He led Constantine through a secret underground tunnel that he hadn't told anyone about. It was a structure from quite some time ago that Brendan had found by accident. He looked for information about this in manuscripts that suggested that St. Patrick, an Irish Catholic missionary, had been here. But the most important thing was that, besides this small room, a holy water fountain had been preserved in the center. Brendan took out a table, drew a pentagram, and lit some candles to perform a transmutation spell. He made a reference to Christ turning water into wine, but they were in Ireland, and he summoned the best stout beer any human had ever tasted. With a smile, John found it amusing that his friend was still going on with these absurd spells. Although he didn't miss the chance to serve himself again, and he warned him that the magic shouldn't be used for this. Time passed and they kept drinking. Constantine finally told his friend the reason for his visit. He was asking for his help to cure his cancer with some trick. And once Brendan analyzed the whole situation, he started laughing out loud. John got furious for a moment because he didn't understand what was so funny about his death, and it turned out that the favor Brendan needed was the same thing. He was also dying because of his liver. He even felt death was only a few hours away. Now all we can do is get drunk and hell with everything. I'm dying. Brendan is dying. I can't help him. He can't help me, and we don't care at all. I put all my hopes in him and he put all his hopes in me. What a waste of time. And thank God because I'm drunk and happy and with my friend. Thank God. They had one last drink before Brendan couldn't take it anymore. He sat down on the floor when a sudden tiredness came over him. He no longer had the strength to accompany Constantine to the exit, and all they could do was say goodbye. John headed for the exit of the old tower, thinking of Brendan as just another name added to the list of dead friends. But at least this time he was able to say goodbye properly. He was happy about that until he saw him standing at the entrance door. The scent was unmistakable. The first of the 13 was here, Satan, the Lord of Hell. He was waiting for someone to invite him in, but it didn't happen. John was trying to clear his mind, asking himself why he was here. The devil had come to claim Brendan Finn's soul. Constantine followed him, claiming he was interested in witnessing this. Just to make sure things were done properly, the first one didn't see this as any setback and allowed it, calling John by his name. He didn't know he was known by the devil, but the latter claimed he knew his father, who was in hell, condemned for hating his own son. Constantine stayed behind, a little stunned, thinking, and then he started to smile. The first one declared loudly that the deal was fulfilled. Brendan Finn gained the knowledge and power to gather the best wine collection of all. The only clause in the contract said that the soul had to be collected before midnight on the day of his death. If this rule was broken, the deal would be void and he could go to heaven. The devil smiled as he remembered this. Maybe Brendan thought he was clever enough to trick him into losing this deal, but that wasn't the case. To him, we were just mortals, stupid, proud, and deep down pathetic. There were still 5 minutes left until midnight, and John couldn't think of anything else but to offer the devil a beer. He told him that Brendan thought of himself as something like the king of drinkers, but if John managed to have a drink with the devil, well, poor Brendan's soul would be mourning in hell, knowing that Constantine had outdone his achievements with this unique feat. A wine collection was nothing compared to sharing a beer with the Lord of Hell. The first one like this considered John a clever guy and accepted his invitation. Even he thought it was a splendid drink, and Constantine agreed with him. He told him that as long as the candles stayed lit, the beer wouldn't turn back into holy water. Constantine kicked the table, knocking over the candles and causing the flames to go out. Satan began to choke on the stench of the holy water inside his physical form. He couldn't even curse John Constantine because of that suffering. The devil's body began to burst from the inside, splattering pain and blood. It was as if the skin and flesh started to melt, leaving everything inside exposed. John grabbed a bottle, broke it in half, and smashed it into the demon's face, shattering his features and forcing him to fall into the fountain. The scream stopped, and the first of the three had returned to hell. That's what happens when you're stupid, proud, and deep down pathetic. I did it, my friend. I saved your soul. Somewhere you can hear glasses clinking in a toast. It was good. For a moment I felt young, as if the drink had brought back the old Constantine. The bastard came in here like a king. He threw down the gauntlet, and because I was drunk, I picked it up and shoved it up his ass. But I have problems. Now he's furious down there, and I don't even want to think about what he'll do to me when I show up. Before, I didn't want to die, but now I don't dare. Are the games over? Time to get serious. Serious or desperate depends on your point of view. Thank you.